Okay, what's up guys? Welcome back. So sorry I haven't uploaded in a few days, just took a little bit of time off. We had some Easter stuff going on and then I just decided to clean the garage. I started and then I just spent the next couple days kind of organizing everything, got a little bit of stuff out, cleaned up the floor, decided I wanted to make a list for pretty much everything that I feel like I need yet for the car. So it's just like a to-do list. I'm still going to be adding to it as I find things, but I also put stars by everything that I needed to order and then crossed it off as I ordered it. So I pretty much think I have everything ordered that I should need to get it going and running. So I have the parts coming in. So I might just wait like another day. I'll probably putz around a little bit and do some things, but it'll be nice to just work on stuff when all the parts are laying there and I'm not waiting on anything. I also did decide to go with an intercooler for the car. So I got like an intercooler. I was just going to do meth injection before, but I think I'm just gonna throw an intercooler on it. So I bought an intercooler, got a bunch of stuff, couplers, intercooler piping kit, intercooler, fuel pump, gonna do a Walbro 450, fuel lines, fittings, turbo oil feed, and drains, all kinds of goodies. I did figure out, or I think I figured out the power steering line situation for the one that I broke, that got smashed by the engine. I'm gonna do a banjo setup on that one. So got that stuff coming. Blow-off valve, wastegates, throttle body. I talked about the fuel pump and feed and drains already. So that stuff's coming along. I also did move this shelf. I know I talked to you guys a little bit about this on the 821 Bravo Facebook page. This shelf used to be over here where that one is, but it sticks out pretty far and it's kind of big, so it didn't really work out as well when the car was pushed over. There wasn't a whole lot of room there. So I was able to set this up. And I also separated my Hobart 140 off of this other cart. So I thought I would have liked it like that, where I had both welders on the same cart. But I was always dragging around the spare bottle, and that didn't really work. So I separated these back out, and then I'm just going to get a plasma cutter for under this. So I also went ahead and made some little hangers just out of some wire. So my 220 extension cord outlet is actually back over here. So what I was doing before, when I had the cart over here, I was always running the extension cord out and it was kind of annoying. So now I can just wrap it up, hang it there, and then run each welder independently and pull it out with the cart. And then I was able to fit the engine stand with my spare engine on it. So tuck that back here and that works out pretty well. And then I just got a bunch of spare parts. I'll have to organize that yet, but got some of that stuff taken care of. And then been working on this thing. So this thing is, it's like a family tiller, I guess. It's the wife's side of the family's tiller and it's broken. So I'm going to be working on this thing too. So I've been starting to work on this and rip this thing apart. So we got that going on. But what I'm doing today, guys, is I'm looking at my fan situation. So if you guys have been following for a while, you kind of know that I've always had a little bit of a not really overheating issue, but if I'm like sitting in traffic at a red light or sitting in the staging lane at the track, it'll start to get warm and it doesn't really, the fans aren't really cooling it down. So what I wanted to do and what I started planning to do today was take the Spall fans off of the Mishimoto radiator for the 350Z. I was going to put one of these 14 inchers on there and see how this performed, because I already had this eBay 14 inch on there with these two little 10 inch fans. So I want to show you guys something, and I think I might put this one back on there and I'll show you why. Just bear with me for a minute. Alrighty, so this fan that I have is rated as like a push-pull fan, but so I put it on as a pusher so I could save some room on the backside of the radiator, and it's just a straight blade fan. If you look at the way that the blades are facing, I had it rotating this way, but watch what happens as I plug it in. So you see how it's pulling the shirt away from my body? So like it was sitting on the radiator this way, and it's almost like it's pulling the air backwards. I had the two smaller fans on. I tested those things and they both move a lot of air both directions. But this thing, even though the blades are angled that way, it doesn't really move any air the way that I had it on there. So now I'll switch the polarity back again and oh, look what's happening. So you can see that it's actually moving a lot of air now, like if it was on the back. So I'm going to use the same one. I'm going to put it on the back as a puller, and I'm going to leave the other two on there. And I can almost guarantee that's going to solve my issue. Maybe on a super hot day, it wouldn't completely solve it, but I'm going to find out, because the thing is essentially moving no air. So I feel like all of the cooling capacity that I did have was just because of those two little 10-inch fans. So the two 10-inch fans in combination with this thing actually doing something will probably be pretty good. So I'm going to do that. Okay guys, so we're going to do something a little bit interesting. I just thought of this. Hold on, before we do that. Alright, so I got the fans on now. I kept the two fans on the front. These do push very nicely, and then I do have the other one wired up on the back. So finally got this thing wired, and what I also did was I wired in a fan relay. So before I always had it hooked up to where I would have to use my climate control, and I would turn the climate control on, and for a little while during winter I had the radiator fans hooked up to the heater blower. So I would just always have that stuff on, but now it's summer and I don't run the heater, and I just want to be able to have the fans running all the time when it's on, when the truck is on, so I don't have to worry about it. Sometimes when I was out driving around and I would like pull over, stop, like flash a new file in, and then start driving and forget to turn the fan on. So now I don't have to worry about that. It's just gonna run all the time. So after that, I decided I was gonna go in and maybe clean up a little bit more wiring. Did some wiring, gonna clean up some wiring. I'm using the two-step now, and what I had just temporarily for the two-step was this switch. So this purple wire comes from the brake switch, blue wire goes down to the two-step and on and off, and I was just flipping it back and forth. So I want to clean that up. I thought about adding a button, so I could just have like a burnout button, hold the button during the burnout. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use the four-wheel drive switch. It's removed now. I have it on the bench. That's what I was just looking at. So I think what I want to do is have it set up with, you know, two-wheel drive would just be off. If I want to do burnout, I'll flip the switch, do a burnout, flip it off, and then I don't have to add another button anywhere. However, this guy is a little bit tricky in the sense that the continuity is on the outside pins on every setting. So I thought it would be a little bit more simple, where I would just be able to flip the switch, find the two pins that have continuity, and then wire the wires to those pins. But that's not the case, because the four-wheel drive actually runs on a 5-volt circuit. So I keyed power on, and then this pin here actually has 5 volts, which you can see the way the trace goes. It goes through these little guys here, and there's where your 3 different settings are. So it runs the 5 volts through, goes through here, and then I'm guessing it just passes power through this little copper piece that sends whatever signal to this pin, which determines what four-wheel drive setting it's going to be. So what I'm going to do is I want to use this pin here, the 3rd pin in. There's a little hole there that's dividing this trace. So I want to use this pin as one of them, and then I want to have it on the switch that's all the way over to the right. So I'm going to use this top little guy here. I'm going to pop this out, solder a little wire in there, and then I will have a connection between here and here, and that should work. Okay, so I just popped that little guy out of there, and then put a big ball of solder over the top of it. So now I'll throw this thing back together, and we'll see what it does. Oh, that didn't seem right. There's a little ball, like a little detent ball inside there. So this little guy here, this little marble, fell out. So I'm going to put that back in. So essentially what's going to happen here with this little guy, these little pads ride on these little traces here. So part of the signal is going to come in this side, get sent all the way up through the ball of solder over to this pad, through the copper, over to here, which is connected to this pin here. So that would be what's closing the circuit. And then what's cool about this is there's a light in here. So what I might even try to do is hook this up so when I am on the brake with the 2-step switch on, that it activates this LED, and then it would you know, the four-wheel drive stuff would light up when I was on the brake and I'd be able to see that. So I might try to do that. Let's throw this thing back together. Make sure this ball doesn't fall out again. Alright, so with any luck, I should be able to put the multimeter with continuity buzzer on the center 2 pins. And then when I turn it all the way to the right, we'll hear beeping. Yep. So there. Now we have switch all the way to the left. Oh, I think this fell off. So now we have switch all the way to the left, all the way to the right, closes the circuit, and then it would activate the 2-step. Okay, so round 1 was a failure. It basically activated the 2-step in every single setting. So I disconnected these other little pieces that were on there, just took the soldering iron and popped them off. So I think what was happening is it's still seeing voltage through here, and it's still passing some sort of voltage through over to the other pin. So now I'm gonna wire it back up and see if it works now. Hey guys, so I want to show you this thing. I'm going to leave the lights off so you can actually see what's going on, but see down in the right corner over here, when I turn my key forward, see a red light? That red light is the MSD 2-step box. So when I hit the brake switch, that will activate when it's running. You'll see the light come on, meaning that the 2-step is active. So up here, you see I have a switch. And when I go to the right side and I hit the brake switch, the LED comes on. So I'm going to start it and run it. I'm explaining this ahead of time because I'm going to run it. So you'll see me do this. I'll hit the brake and nothing will happen. I'll turn it to the right. 2-step is active. You'll see the 2-step light come on and the green light come on over here. So let's do it. So I'm hitting the brake right now. So now I'll turn the switch. 2-step is on. So hitting the brake. You see the 2-step light come on. And I have the indicator here. Turns green. So I know that the 2-step is on and working. So there you go. I got a 4-wheel drive button 2-step. Alright guys, so I'm going to end this one here. I'm pretty pumped about that. I love doing that kind of stuff. It brings me joy. So I'm happy about that. It took a little bit to figure it out because I had to desolder a couple more things off of the board, which I showed, those 2 little pieces. Had to just desolder those, and then I had to get the power and ground in the right position. So I was actually hooking up the power before the circuit, so it was activating it all of the time, where I needed to hook it up after the circuit closed to activate the light bulb. So pretty cool. Happy that everything works. Very happy about getting the fan relay hooked back up so I don't have to putz with that, and then cleaned up that ugly wiring for the 2-step switch that was in there. So yeah, hopefully maybe this truck will just turn into that point where we can just work on nice stuff and clean up stuff. But I have a feeling we're going to break it a couple more times. So that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.